So, so ultimately, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jon Rubin. I teach fifth grade in a small town called Hollis, New Hampshire. I live in a town called Bedford, New Hampshire, which is about 30 minutes away. I wrote a children's book uh, called Oscar. It's about my 14-year-old pug, um,
Awesome.
and it's about essentially Oscar discovering that he has deteriorated and deteriorated to a point in which he starts to see his more or less his physical skills diminish, and he ultimately ends up crossing over. So this is a story about how he passes away, but in a way in which that is graceful and gives the ability for people to who read it to experience grieving the loss in a more, I would say, gentle and helpful way. Like really the basis of the book was I was devastated when I lost my dog. I missed him every day. I still miss him almost 4 years later. And my son, who is now 15, he's autistic, and he asked me when Oscar passed away what happened to him. And I didn't have an answer until I started to come up with an idea of like where he went, and that was kind of the baseline for the story of Oscar. So that's the book. I spent a little over 2 years working on it. Amy has been incredible, and I'm not just saying that because it's being recorded. It's the truth. Huge support. I also wouldn't be here without Dennis Matthew, who is also a part of the Quillhawk family. He's a fantastic children's author and a great mentor as well. So I guess the probably the best thing to start off with in terms of you know my book or our books is ultimately asking yourself the question is what do you want out of it. And you know my goal personally was to get it published was the number one goal. Number one. um Linking up with Quillhawk made it legit, as in I had a label, I had something I could be proud of. And once I got there, then it was, you know, where in the world do I even begin? Because writing is one thing, selling is a whole different story. um, so I felt very lucky because as an educator, I have multiple communities here that I'm already connected with. And when you have a community that you connect with, that is already kind of your baseline for being able to put your stuff out there. Um, so I felt like I almost, if I was running a race and it was the 100-meter dash, I already felt like I was at the first 20 because I had communities to be able to work with. So I relied on that first, kind of just putting it out there in terms of what Oscar was. And it kind of snowballed into other things. So I think the first thing I really highly recommend is if you have a book or if you're going to release a book is just look around your community and determine who you want to connect with, because it's very overwhelming just to go out there and say, hey, I have a book, will you buy it? It's very very challenging. um, so what I did for myself, because I had the ability to do it, was I started at my own school, because why would I start anywhere else? I went to classrooms, I read my story to kids because I was invited to do so. And if it's not in you to have a social media presence, you need one. Like you just do. You have to be able to, whether it be Facebook or Instagram. I think those are probably the biggest two I would recommend using. And I having a presence to kind of sharing what you're doing each day, because you know the well will dry up with the people who have already purchased. You got to expand beyond that, and that's where I keep coming back to, what's your niche? Mine is obviously grief support. Mine is kids, families. It ranges. And that's great for me because there's so many avenues to go in. So definitely you want to be able to get social media a website, and you want to make sure that it's something you go after kind of each day. Another thing that I've found helpful for me, other than bothering Amy about this all the time, because I always ask her a question or 15 of them at a time, is you have to have a level of hustle and be aggressive to be able to put it out there. Um, my goal starting off was in the back of my mind when Amy and I first like connected was I believe the authors of a life during a lifetime are lucky to sell 250 books. I think that was the actual number. So my thought process was get me to 250. Like get me to 250. Let's find a way to get there and then let's keep on building. And once I got there after about I don't know, maybe a month and a half, 2 months, and I thought it was reasonable because of my community and that type of outreach. How can I go beyond that? So what I did was I called local bookstores, asked them if I could do a signing. And I will say this, finding a decision maker can be very discouraging because you will call, you will email, and you will hear nothing. You may hear something. My first book signing was in May. The book was published in February, mid-February. It took me 17 emails to be able to lock down the actual event. And once I got there, I sold out in all 30 books that I brought because I was able to really put things out there online about where I was going to be. I relied on my community to come support me. I had students from the past who came there, but they wouldn't know about it unless I kept talking about it. So you're certainly going to want to, look around your community, see where the bookstores are, talk to the people. That's the thing that I've done. I've got I have another book signing that's coming up here in a couple weeks. It's another like local one, so I anticipate that it will be, hopefully, based on what I'm hearing, it will be successful. But even if you get it and no one shows, it's still great practice to be there. And I think even if you sell zero, the fact that you're putting yourself out there, I think is huge. So continue to kind of, just be aggressive. Another thing that, I highly recommend is when you're online, follow other authors. Um, Even if it's a genre you don't necessarily connect with, I followed a ton of authors, especially on Instagram in particular. And the amount of times where I'll hear back from somebody or they'll just ask me questions about my book or vice versa, you're kind of opening the door to even more people. And I got to tell you, like, I've met like somewhere between like 30 or 40 authors who just send me your link of your book. They want to read it. Like that's huge, but you have to put yourself out there. And that's a day by day thing. And I would love to tell you that everyone's really excited and friendly to hear about a 14-year-old pug, but they're not. Many are excited to like connect. But you gotta like really hustle. I told Amy when I first started this, like the goal was to, sell 2 to 3 books a day, which was an outrageous like expectation. In the first few months, that was a relatively like first month and a half was simple because that was my network. I have days where I'll look and I have zero. And if I have zero, I say to myself, okay, what can happen the next day to increase that? And that's when I go back to those Facebook groups that I join, different areas of towns, ask people questions, get to know them, see if they'll be interested in Oscar. I go to veterinary hospitals, and if they won't buy, I donate because I also look at that as well. If it costs me $4 for an author copy and it's sitting in their waiting room, well, guess what? $4 could, turn into could multiply 10 times over by the time that someone picks up the book and they like it. And I take great pride of going around this town or different libraries nearby and seeing Oscar there. And trust me, they're not coming for me. I need to go find them. So always just find a way to kind of put yourself out there, ask for help. I ask for help every day. And I would love to say that I don't get discouraged, but of course, there's days I get discouraged because you are taking on something that it could be massive, it could be small. Maybe you don't want it to be much of anything other than the goal of publishing. For me, I want it to continue. That's kind of my goal is to keep writing and being a part of Quillhawk and um, just kind of expand. So I think the best thing to do is even if you don't have your book out yet, is pre-plan about how you really want to attack it and how you like where you want to put your time and energy because once the book is out or if you have it out right now, it can be extremely overwhelming if things don't go your way. And then unfortunately, they don't go your way most days, but you got to keep on, hustling. It's probably my best advice to all.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I
Yeah.
will say that, whether you're traditionally published, self-published, hybrid, whatever, in today's market, it really is on the author to hustle their book and do their own PR because, traditional publishing companies, they don't have the budget. And unless you're a big name author who's already got an established brand and followers, that's where all their money is going to go towards, and even with sign-on bonuses or advances, those are few and far between now. And so you as the author, and hopefully with Quillhawk as well, we can help promote and push it out. And even if it's just me, you tagging me and I share it to a story or share it to whatever, or if you say, oh my gosh, I just was on this podcast, you know, just like Randy Kluver was like, I just on this podcast. And but then he didn't do any promotion whatsoever. So I created a post for it. Um, and with social media, you guys know the algorithm is not in our favor at all, because why? Mark Zuckerberg is in the business of making money. You may have 100,000 followers, he's only going to show it to maybe 1% of your followers. And so it's important to post every single day even though you feel like you're saying the same message and you're beating the horse, that same post is not being seen by the same person every single day, right? And the more you post and the more interaction there is on the post, the more that gatekeeper is going to get opened, so that they will show your post to maybe now 5% of your followers. So that's why when they say, okay, do you want to boost this so you can have more visibility? It's because they want you to pay for that boost. And honestly, that boost doesn't really do you much good. So I would try to stay away from that. But running ads is another thing that I would recommend if you have the budget for it. Facebook is really good. It's still king, right, in terms of social media, and it's great for branding. I've seen, but not necessarily great for sales. And so, it's kind of like a Nike ad. Like we'll start to recognize the cover, or we'll start to recognize the author's face or whatever, but people have to see it a lot of times before they even click on it to see, okay, what's this all about? And then even then, they have to continue seeing it before they actually commit to buying. So branding is important for Facebook ads, and it can be only $5 a day, and you can do a test run for, 2 or 3 months to see how it goes. Um, Amazon ads are great in terms of actual sales because people are already there, right, to buy. The problem with that though is when you run a campaign in Amazon, you literally have to run a new campaign every single week because if you don't, you're going to lose that momentum. And then the next thing you know, you're going to be paying more for your ads than you're actually getting in return in terms of the royalties. And so when you run a sponsored ad with Amazon, first of all, you need to download what's called the also bots, ALSO also, and then bots, BOUGHTS. If you go onto Amazon and let's say you search for best-selling, historical fiction novel out there, you click on it, and if you scroll down, there's an also bought. Customers who bought this also bought these books, right? And so when you have that downloaded extension, you can click on this little icon and it downloads for you all those books that were also purchased, um, from customers who also was looking at that particular book or genre or author or whatever. And then you run an ad campaign with that. Like I said, it's a lot of work.
Can I
Um,
jump in with a question before we get
yes,
too far
Reba.
down the road? This is for
Hmm.
both John and Amy. Regarding the social media coverage for, like you were talking about, for branding, is that something I need to start considering before I'm published?
Yeah, a thousand
You're
percent.
shaking your head, so I'm assuming
Yeah.
that's okay.
You
Because
know,
Amy knows this. Me and computers is like a hog looking at a wristwatch. I just don't like dealing with them at all. So I usually find a teenager to, get my stuff on social media done. But um,
I think
Yeah.
the
if I need,
best
go ahead.
course of action with that. I was in a similar boat. I felt like, and I was in a long like I felt like I was in a long holding pattern waiting for my book to be completed, just from like the illustration and design piece. But um, you know, you have to find your audience, right? Or have them, or you want them to be able to find you. You want them to be interested in you, because ultimately, no matter the book that you're working on, um you know if people are interested in you, they're going to want to read about what it is that you have put together, right? So the things I'm hearing about you, I want to hear more about it, right? So knowing that you're out there and I hear something that you're doing kind of on the daily that kind of connects with like your story, almost like you're teasing it a little bit, that's coming.
Okay.
That's like, that's going to build something. Before you know it, people are going to start to jump on and be like, wait, this guy acts too. Like, what do you mean? Like, so we get to know you a little bit, and we know that there's like something coming. It's almost like it's like a tease, each day that's building up to something. I probably should have done more of it before Oscar came out, but you don't know until you know. I highly recommend creating like an author page, so people who know you know that like you're writing something. I recommend that. Um,
Okay.
and in terms of it being something that you're saying like it's not, computers not doing your thing, this could really play into your advantage of having somebody in a different demographic helping you out with it, because you'll get them interested too. And that way it kind of generates even more followers. That's my thought process on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I will add to that it's important to have your personal page, but tie that to an out, facing external author page, because that's going to be your brand. So when you think about branding, think about, okay, maybe what's your color palette, what's your font style, maybe you end every post with a particular tagline that is unique to you or unique to the book. Maybe you have a particular phrase, an idism, whatever. And then use a lot of hashtags, because hashtags, like the pound sign, use hashtag rewrite rights, or I don't know, whatever it is, right?
Okay.
And the reason why that's so important is because anybody can click on that hashtag and see all the posts out there that is related to that hashtag. Um, and
So how
you
do you
get
get a hashtag? I don't understand that.
Yeah, so when you create a post on Facebook, for example, or Instagram, right? And
Yeah.
you type cover reveal and whatever, and you put hashtag your book title. So
Okay.
every
Oh,
time,
oh,
yeah, the pound sign and then your book title. So the more you do this, the more it could potentially trend. And then if people click on the hashtag, they'll see all the posts that is related to that topic. So right now, Dolly Parton is trending,
hot
right?
topic.
You
Yeah,
open it
sure.
up and everything is about Dolly.
Yeah.
And people are hashtagging Dolly Parton or whatever. And so that's what I'm saying is use the hashtags. When you create a reel, they usually only allow you to do like 5 hashtags, but if you're just doing a regular post, Instagram, for example, I think gives you 30 hashtags. You don't have to use all 30, but it's super
Yeah.
important
Mhm.
to get that digital real estate going and train the internet to associate that hashtag with you. Um, and one rule of thumb that I learned is when you make a post, there are three elements you need to include, right? You need to include the location. So it's super important to check in to whatever location because it trains people and the web to understand, okay, you're not just based in LA. You're not just based in New Hampshire or whatever. You're global. You know, you go take a vacation to somewhere in Europe, you bring a copy of your book and you do hashtag, Finland or whatever. It's going to associate that, right? So location's important. You also want to put your your either your name or your company name or your book name, right? Because then it's going to associate that this book is tied to this particular location, right? And then
Sure.
you also want to write what it is that you're promoting. For me, for example, I would have Quill Hawk Publishing, I would have indie publishing or hybrid publishing, and then I might put in Vietnam because I happen to be there. So think about those three elements, okay? And I know Kathy's got her hand raised, so go ahead and Kathy, if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, just the location. Okay. I suck at social media and I'm no, I'm getting on board with this, especially after talking with or hearing y'all speak. Okay, so when you say location, can you go into that? I'm not understanding that exactly. Like here I am in Florida. Do you know, I don't understand. Am I supposed to travel around or what exactly do you mean?
So what I'm saying is we naturally travel anyway. I'm not saying you intentionally go and travel somewhere, right? But let's say you're going on a road trip or you're going on vacation or something, and you happen to, that's when you create a social media post, right? You say, here I am in Oklahoma, and you're going to check in. So when you create a post, you can add the location and it'll say check in. And you can search for the location, you can search for a specific business, like I'm checking in at McDonald's or whatever. So it's important to check in to that location. And then in your hashtag, you can also put in hashtag Oklahoma, right? Hashtag Florida. Um, so that's what I'm saying when I'm talking about locations and checking in. Does
Yeah,
that
and I
make
think
sense?
and I think being consistent in the hashtags, I will like religiously hashtag read Oscar as a tagline for myself. I will always put Jon Rubin writes, which is what not only my email but also my author page on Facebook. I will always put Quillhawk Publishing, as usually it comes up on the third to know that we're connected together. But I also touch on um, things that I want to be put out there, like support local authors or grieving pet loss, or things that coincide with what message I'm or the audience that I want to connect with. Another thing that Amy mentioned was like as far as the branding goes, I typically use the same exact colors that Oscar was made in. I'm just going to show you real quick what that looks like. So let me just go here.
Yeah, and think about merchandise too, swag and merch.
Mhm.
Those can be really, really helpful in getting your reach.
So in particular, I tend to focus on the orange that coincides with the actual book itself. Um, to the point where I just to kind of a trial, I'd even just had like one of those wristbands made. It says "Read Oscar" on it, and Jon Rubin writes. Just to see if anybody, as I'm like walking around, does anybody ask me about it? Does anybody want one? Rather than ordering 1,000 of them, just kind of putting it out there. So everything I kind of do matches the actual color scheme. Um, Another thing that um, you kind of want to think about. Hold on a second here. Stop share. why is it that Zoom has changed so much since the last time I used it? All right.
I know, I know. You all should Google yourself just to see what comes up, by the way. And because if you have an LLC, you want to claim your knowledge panel. And what that means is like when you Google Jon Rubin writes, there should be a panel that says a little blurb about John. And you can claim that so that you control the narrative. There's a process that Google has you go through to claim a Google business profile, and we can talk about that. I don't want to overwhelm you, but when you get there to that stage, come talk to me because it's really important to, again, train Google, train the internet to associate certain things with you so that when you actually Google your name the next time, it's not going to come up with some random person or random thing, right? And some random narrative that's not even you. But anyway, so I'll let John continue.
So another thing Amy mentioned about like location in terms of uh, let's see, like putting out there like the actual location. So I'm just gonna show you very quickly. Here we go. If you see the one right here, this is a picture of my son. This is a pet store here, and it's like a neighboring town. So one of the things I did, or everywhere I go, pretty much I'll actually take a picture of the book. Usually I have my kids with me. I'll do the same hashtags, but they could see the location. Something to certainly get into the habit of doing and doing often. Um, because it really helps out all parties. It helps out the local business. It also helps that, you're visible. And another thing, not to overwhelm you, because I don't want to overwhelm you, but the, um, I also created bookmarks that have QR codes with the, one second, with access to where you can purchase the book, going to like my website as well. I know it's a lot of information. It will really all come together. It doesn't need to be done overnight.
Kathy's like overwhelmed. That ship has sailed. Well, this is recorded. You can listen to it over and over, or you can ask us questions afterwards when you wake up in the middle of the night. You're like, what did he mean by?
I have a question. This is Louise. When you keep referring to you put yourself out there,
Sure.
how do you do that? Like, for example, on Facebook, you have different people following you or whatnot.
Sure.
I mean, do you bring up, oh, the book is going in this stage? Or, I mean, give me a couple examples of what you're talking about.
Are you talking in terms of prior to the book being out or after the book's out or both?
Either or, either or. I
Yeah.
could see it easier. I could see it easier when before say, hey, I have a book, about to come out, another week or so. I mean, I could see building the momentum then. But after, what do you say?
So, once the one thing that I do that I found as far as like putting myself out there is I join a lot of different Facebook groups, town groups, and I try to, and it's a little bit tricky because there's rules in each group page. What I do is I go onto these group pages, and whether they be just regular towns or if it has to do with pugs or if it has to do with pet loss or grief support, I'll put something out there asking a question, asking, when your beloved pet passed away, did you have a support system that you felt like was in place to help you? And so I'm just asking the question. And then sometimes I'll get a ton of responses, and that will lead to the dialogue about like me writing my book. So I'm not forcing anything initially. Well, I will at some point, as in there's times where I do include Oscar. The book is something that I'm interested in talking about. But, the more people you get to know, and I strongly believe if somebody really likes you, they'll likely purchase from you. In general, that's what I believe right now, based on my experience. And I think it's important just to continue to reach out. It's no different, whether it be if you're an introvert or an extrovert. You have to find a way to be an extrovert in some like capacity. And online can be a lot easier because you don't have to necessarily get up and speak in front of other people. You probably tell based on me just talking a ton, I love to talk, but not everybody's the same way. And I will kind of circle through these different groups and see what hits. And some days they're great. One day, 2 weeks ago, there was Oak Ridge, Tennessee, where I was getting, 15 people wanted me to send the link for my book, which is great. 2 days later, zero. So you just never know. That's why you just keep on, reaching out. And another thing that I really highly recommend about that is if things just aren't going your way, talk to people about, ask them if they're interested in reading it, because getting the book in people's hands, I think, is really important. I firmly believe that if someone gives the book a chance, that ultimately they're going to want it. So that's as repetitive as it is. I think it's important just to stay on it and just be relatively relentless, but also recognize that it's a pretty saturated, market in general. I mean, I walk into bookstores all the time. Where do you even begin? It's
Yeah, yeah. I will add that, with regards to promoting your work and branding and all that stuff, be very intentional. Um, and every single day, starting tomorrow, even today, maybe, every single day, you should be doing one thing at least that gets you a little bit further along in your branding journey, right? And when you're posting something on social media, the rule is 80-20. 80% of what you post should be about your book, your entrepreneurial journey. And then the other 20% is something personal about you to give us a little bit of insight into you as a person so that we feel related to you. Because at the end of the day, you want to bring these people along through your journey so that when you do have your book published, they're already excited because they already know what's been going on. And then when you work on your second book or whatever, you start to bring them along on that journey as well. And so when I first started with Snow in Vietnam, I was posting every single day. It has, been like today I woke up and Snow was talking in my head at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this is what she said, or the next day I might be like, here's my working station for the next hour, and people will comment on random things like, oh, I drink that Red Bull too, and then the next day you're outside at the park and you're at with your computer and this is my view for today, right? So every single day post something if you can. If it's not every single day, do it at least twice a week to keep that momentum. And then as you build your followers, don't drop that momentum. Like continue posting. And if you have to hire someone to manage your social media for you, find someone who is savvy and can do it, for $250, $500 a month, whatever it is, and let them go. But Kathy, you had a question?
Yes, I have a couple of friends, and I'm wondering, well, a couple of friends. Okay, actually, it was a lady that, anyway, it doesn't matter, too much information. There's a friend of mine is a pediatrician. She's a psychologist and pediatrician. And the book that I just finished, that I just gave to Amy here a few days ago, would it be okay if I just sent them the manuscript for them both to read? Or should I
Well,
wait until I have the actual book in my hand?
that is totally up to you, but the question you have to ask is, what is your intention, right? Because if you're giving them a PDF or whatever, are you asking for an advanced review? Are you asking for them to alpha read it, beta read it? So be clear not only what you're asking them, and also give them a timeline. So, hey, I wrote this book. I would love, somebody to read it and just give me an alpha review on it. And then if they say, yeah, I would love to, ask them if they'd be willing to do it within, a 2-week, 3-week period. Give them a word count if that helps. And then by the way, when it's actually out, would you be willing to write a review? And then follow up with them after it's out and ask them to write a review. And it could be just a one-liner, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but that's what I would say. John, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think it all depends on, like you said, like what do you want from it? I think for me, I definitely took, more so some trusted individuals that I really wanted to know their thoughts before I even got the book moving in a direction to even have it edited far away from publishing. I was just curious because I knew they would give me an honest answer of what they thought about it. Um, and I think that if you really, it depends on what it is that you want. Is the goal to just see if they like it, or is it something that they would see to be useful where in their profession? It depends on what like the goal is. So as long as you have an idea with that, go for it. As long as the expectations are clear. It's one thing I learned from Amy is make sure like you have clear expectations for anybody that you share your work with. So that way, you don't feel a level of disappointment if you don't get what you're hoping for.
And you're just gonna have to have a thick skin
Right.
because people are gonna give you one-star reviews and not give you a reason why, or it's just, and that's okay too.
Okay, thank
Hmm. Yeah, so Kathy is writing a book that has to do with human connection, really, because everybody is like on their devices. We can be sitting at a table and nobody's talking to each other. And so how do we bring that back? And then Louise, she's working on her memoir, and it's about false allegations and wrongful convictions. And it's her personal story as the other victim fighting the judicial system. So it doesn't matter what your story is about. Everybody's got a great story, right? But you got to put your business hat on and think like a business person, and the bottom dollar, the money aspect of it, because it takes money to write and to publish. And it's going to take even more money and energy to promote and hustle the book. So you want to be intentional so that you can earn some of that money back and then some. Go ahead, Kathy.
Well, since you know how different the first book was a photography book. This book is more of a personal book. How would I actually promote both books? I mean, how do I say, okay, here's a photography book and it's from France, and then here's this other book. I don't understand how I would do both.
Well, I'll say it boils down to branding again, because to John's point, like you can be multi-genre author, right? But if your followers love you, respect you, trust you, they feel like they can relate to you, then they're going to naturally buy and be excited with whatever you put out. It could be a photography book and it could be a memoir, whatever. But you can also dovetail the two together, and maybe there is a particular photo that you took in France. Maybe it's a cemetery photo that you took in France, right? And you can just say, this memory or this photo was taken in France, and at that point, this was how I was feeling. Maybe you felt disconnected or you felt at peace, and then somehow tie that into your current book. Like maybe you felt disconnected with something, or you felt at peace because, whatever, something spoke to you. But there's always a way to dovetail it together.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think this is where having kind of an author page could be the key to everything. Really, is that in it, author page. This is free in the sense that if you're on Facebook, you create your author page. You're seeking out people who have the same interest, whether it be in what you're writing or interest in you, and that's where you have to find these people and bring them in, because once you bring them in, they are going to follow you, and that's where, Amy talked about the consistency. You do have to give them something, each day, because for the most part, because if you don't have something, they're going to go find somebody else. So you want to kind of keep them, interested in you. You want them to find, get to know what it is that you're willing to share. And that's where I think things on those Facebook groups can be huge. You don't have to have dinner with them, but you definitely want them to show an interest, and photography is an aspect of that. Well, I'll say this, if I went onto Instagram right now and typed in photography, I'd probably have over 5 million different accounts to look for people who have a photography business,
Exactly.
like pages. Now it's overwhelming, but you don't need to, buddy up with all of them, but that's how the network begins. That's what I've been doing with authors. And to the point where, I find an author and I follow their page and I repost what it is that they put, because when I keep doing that, they come back and they share my stuff. And that's kind of how that kind of, you're putting yourself out there and, you know, they wouldn't maybe not recognize me if they crossed me in the street, but we have in online personas that are working together.
Yeah, do a lot of collaboration with other authors, because then you're sharing each other's audiences, right? Um, give books away, donate to certain causes, put it in a free library, whatever. Always have your books in your car. And even if there's nothing going on, if anything, take your book out, just put it in front of a beautiful, plate of food, and post something about that. Like, this is what I'm having for dinner. And oh, by the way, I'm just thinking about my book baby. Isn't it beautiful?
Oh my
Whatever,
God.
right? Be intentional, but have an excuse. And if you're shy about certain things, then that's where the merch comes in. Like, if you know me, I have every single day something that is on me that's related to Quill Hawk. And so if it's my shoes that has my logo on it, if it's just a bookmark, if it's, whatever, make sure that you just wear it, sport it. Go to the grocery store and have a big old picture of your book on the back of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I've even contemplated. I drive a I drive a Jeep, and I'm even considering getting a Reed Oscar um, decal, putting it like on the hood of my car. Like, I mean, there's no, you know there's nothing better than continuing to sell yourself.
That's a rolling billboard. You can't go wrong
Yeah,
with it.
That's what I'm saying.
exactly. Yep.
Before I forget, John, jot
Sure,
this down.
sure.
Gentle Goodbyes. It's the name of a business in Boise, Idaho. It's a multi-million-dollar a year company.
Hmm.
Contact me after this or sometime, and I'll give you all the information. Contact me. I know your book will sell with them. Okay?
Gentle
There's
goodbyes. Oh,
Gentle
wow.
Goodbyes. It's just hit me up later at some point.
Sure.
I'll tell you all about it.
it's a
Yeah, you bet.
beautiful name.
And see, here's the thing, you guys, just show up. That's another thing is sometimes we're so in our bubble or we're so shy or we're so tired and introverted, whatever, and then we don't show up. And then if we don't show up, we don't make connections, and Rewrite and John wouldn't have had that option, right?
I absolutely guarantee. I know the guy that owns this company. It started out teeny tiny, all about losing animals, pets.
Mm.
Oh, well, I
Perfect.
think we all have holes in our hearts with those.
It's all about networking. That much I
Yeah.
do know. I mean, you cannot make it in the film industry. I don't care if you're cast or crew without the who knows you part, not who knows you. It's all about the networking. So there's a lot of things that I can use for my book. I mean, I already have a huge list of people that want to order it. And I'm not even, I thought I was close to getting it published, but I don't think so. So
It'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it. It's enjoy the journey. And I always say, it's kind of books are like tattoos. You get one and you get addicted to them, and then next thing you know, you've got 10. So,
No, it's so true.
because there's always going to be stories
Mhm.
within us, and again, but everybody's got a good story. It's just a matter of how are you going to market yourself and, put your business hat on and think like a business person. So. Any other thoughts, feedback, tips, questions?
I sent you an email while we were talking regarding getting my cover design underway.
Perfect.
And
Yes.
the reason for that is because of this conversation that I've been listening to and interacting with. If I'm going to start marketing this thing now, and I already have, because folks in the majority of my friends on Facebook are people in the film industry and people from my rodeo background, which is huge. And every one of them wants to read the book because a lot of them already know a good deal about the story. So I think I need to get that cover design underway now versus waiting until we're ready to publish, uh,
Yeah,
so that I
totally
can get
agree.
that out there on social media and start, kind of start the campaign rolling, if you will.
And I
Yep. So
recommend
after,
once you get like some of those pieces in, like even like sketches that you're allowed to share, put them out there. Um,
I already did a photo
yeah,
shoot for the cover. Amy's
even
seen some
better.
pictures,
yeah,
and
it's beautiful.
it's what I had in my head from the time I started this project 30 years ago. That's
Wow.
insane, right? But
Yeah.
it's been, I work on it feverishly for 2 or 3 weeks. I wouldn't touch it for 2 or 3 years, you know?
Yeah.
And,
I
but
think I think sharing that on your page is huge. I mean, I just envision when you're talking to me about it is, you know, if you go back 30 years, I would start off like a little blurb day one. When did it start? And kind of go through like different pieces of time and how so people can see, oh my goodness, he put years upon years in this. And that kind of builds up the idea of being like, wow, we're here. We've got a product now.
Hmm.
mm,
Yeah. So I challenge you, Rewrite today, to post something on social media that is related to this journey. It could be a teaser about your cover. It could be a one paragraph from, an inciting incident in your manuscript, whatever it is. Um, Attach a photo to it and use at least 5 hashtags and then let it rip. Post
five hashtags, five.
Yeah, listen, Quillhawk Publishing is one, so you just got to come up with four other ones.
Oh, all right, all right, all right, all right. Okay, I got it. Now this is,
Don't
man.
make me give you 30.
I have a question for
So,
Reride. I'm just now on Google here. What exactly, um, are you? Are you a,
a mess.
no, 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 no. What I'm saying is is this Rewrite giving former show hosts a new lease? Are you a, um, what exactly do you do?
I train animal. Look up rewrite animal talent.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I train animals for movies. I'm also an actor. I do
Okay.
stunts. I had a 17-year rodeo career. Um, yeah, you can't. If you Google Rewrite Smith, I come up all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where are you based?
Oklahoma when I'm
Oh,
home.
okay. Because I used to do this when I lived in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I didn't do the
Do what?
training or anything. I did location work.
Oh, locations. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I got
Yeah,
it.
and I loved it. That was my favorite thing. And then we moved, and so I got you. Okay. Killers of the Flower Moon. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Amy, John, this is, uh all the folks that are interested already they've already put me down. Some people have already, they want it hardback because they know that they're in the story. Um,
Mhm.
Other ones want because they know me. And this is all people that know me. Folks that I hired to edit my book, to help me edit it, they said they could hear my voice.
I love it. And that's the way it
Beautiful.
should be.
Beautiful.
But I want, as you and I've talked about this before, I also want people that don't know who I am to be that intrigued with the story in order to turn the next page. So that's, where we're trying to go with it. So it's
Hmm.
great information today, fantastic information, but
Good,
Yeah.
good. And just, follow up with us if you have any questions. And I hope that you can join tomorrow's session as well with
All right. I've got it in my
Charlotte
calendar.
too. Yeah, she'll go over the audiobook 101, if you want to do it yourself, you want to hire out, that kind of stuff, what does it take to produce it, etc. So
Tomorrow?
tomorrow, I think it's 2:30
2:30 your time.
Central Time. And we can follow up with you afterwards. Just make sure you have it, Kathy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Louise, do you have any questions? Okay. Well, I'm going to give you an action item too. So I'm going to text you after this and to move one thing forward, move the needle forward for your book. Okay?
All right, Amy, share my contact information with John. I really want to connect him with that company in Idaho.
Appreciate it.
Perfect. Perfect. Yes. So after this call, I will send you both an email and then I will also connect you to Ava Rewrite to get your cover started. So
Yeah, I want to get going on that.
yeah, off we go. All right. Well, John, do you have any last tidbits before we
And the
sign off?
last thing is when in doubt, ask for help. Ask for help. Feel free to ever contact me if there's anything I can do. I'm far from an expert, but I will say that each day I'm giving my best effort to learn. Use me as a resource. If possible. And one of my favorite part about being a part of Quillhawk is Amy, and giving for the fact that at any moment of time, wherever she is in the world, if there's something that I have a question, she always responds. And she's probably the most reliable human being there is, and I'll take that any day of the week.
Thank
So
you, John.
you're in the right place. And I wish everybody luck, and always give me a shout if you ever need help with anything.
Do
All right.
not, you have to be careful about saying that. I think I have her on speed dial. And you're right, she answers all the time. And I'm thinking, okay, what are you doing?
Working.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Hustling. I'm hustling.
Yeah, working.
Yes, you are. Yes, you
Non-stop.
are. And anyway, never mind. Thank you all.
Okay,
Yeah.
everyone. Thank you. And I'll see you online and this will be recorded, so I'll share that out once it's available. Okay, have a good night.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Are you going to, is that on in the Google thing for tomorrow?
Is the what
Or
on
is it
oh,
private?
the audiobook?
No, what is this? Is it private or what is it?
No, so it's for Quillhawk Publishing authors only, and it's also for Charlotte Chu's community as well. It's exactly this. We're going to do another Zoom call, but Charlotte's going to be running the show. And yeah, she's going to actually tell us a little bit about the audiobook world. So I would definitely
Oh.
encourage you to tune in.